Welcome! I'm Jade of Jaded Reader, and today I'm coming back to give you books I was instantly in love with. So I recently did a video where I went over books that were kind of slow to warm for me, and in this one I'm talking about books I was instantly hooked on, had to continue on. It was pretty much insta-love, but in the good way, not the way that is portrayed in books. The first on my list is Beartown. This is by Frederick Bachman, and it was also gifted to me by Madison Mary at Princess of Paperback. Thank you, Madison, for gifting me this book because it ripped my heart out. It was really freaking good, and the beginning immediately hooked me. I was supposed to be starting a whole other readathon and picked this book up just to see what the first few pages had to hold, and I ended up getting way too far through it while trying to read a completely different book. Chapter 1 is a measly 2 sentences. Late one evening towards the end of March, a teenager picked up a double-barrel shotgun, walked into the forest, put the gun to someone else's forehead, and pulled the trigger. This is the story of how we got there. I can say this book is hardcore. It is not messing around. There's definitely triggers and content warnings off the top of my head for homophobia, misogyny, as well as an on-page rape and gaslighting, as well as not believing a victim. So prepare yourself for that. And then in the background, it's also hockey. So I did not think I was going to be interested in this book even slightly. I did not know why Madison sent this to me. And then I read the first few chapters and realized exactly how doomed I was. I flew through this book and it was beginning to end good while also being, again, really impactful. So normally these books I would not be able to read so fast, but this book reads fast and you just have to get to the next page. Beartown is about a small town in the middle of the forest, which is slowly becoming a ghost town. Not many people have work. Everyone is kind of in a limbo type grind, and having lived in a town very similar to this one, it kind of sometimes hit too hard. This town is very hockey obsessed because it is one of the only ways it can get back into the economy and really start drumming up business for the town. The pressure has been placed on the hockey players who are in high school, and a lot of things slide for these hockey players because it is so important for the town's survival and trying to get them back on the map. You follow quite a few different characters, and there's so much great character development in this book. I'm really impressed with how much was accomplished in under 400 pages, and it was definitely an insta-love for me. Next up, I have Crown of Feathers. This is by Nikki Palparetto, and I was really fascinated right away with this world. It has a fantastic opening moment with the birth of a phoenix. I was immediately mesmerized, and it just continued on. There are some moments where I wanted to put this book down because they messed me up, but I continued on because I had to know what happened next. A brief synopsis of this book is that there are 2 sisters who are trying to rise up in this world by claiming phoenixes. There used to be phoenix riders, and these sisters are trying to reclaim their heritage as phoenix riders by finding phoenixes. However, they are incredibly rare, and once a bond is created between the phoenix and the rider, it cannot be undone unless one of them dies. So you have a really powerful bond between both the phoenix and the phoenix riders, but we are amidst a war where there is definitely going to be casualties. Nobody really felt safe during this book, to be perfectly honest. I also liked that there was a lot of academy training scenes that I did not see coming. That also spurred me on once I got into about the halfway point. There is a pivot in the plot. Some would say that's poor pacing. I really enjoyed it. I felt like I was getting several different moments in the book that were really important, and the ending definitely made me want to continue on. So start to finish, this book had me, and I cannot wait to read the sequel, which I have had on my shelves for some time and have not gotten to start. But look at this. Why haven't I read this book? Please somebody tell me, because this book was amazing. I will also say, in case you are wondering, these are the Alcray exclusive editions, and the third in the series is being written now, so you're not too late to hop on board and start your binging journey. The next one on my list is an absolute favorite of mine. It is on my favorite shelf, and that is Scythe by Neil Shusterman. Scythe is a fantastic series that has some really slow-paced moments, but the first chapter is definitely not that, and it really got me hooked immediately because I had not really a strong idea of what I was going into, but I did know by the first chapter. The first chapter opens with a really strong signifier of how this world works, and it really builds the tension to the point of needing to start the next page and understand this world more. I would also say the Scythe series is very good at embedding the world building into your reading without ever creating an info dump situation, and I appreciated this series the entire way through. I read it almost continuously without pausing in between books, and I highly recommend it. The first in the Scythe series, you follow Rowan, Damish, and Citra Terranova, who are growing up in a world where death has been conquered, death no longer exists, except for if you are a Scythe, which is this lovely character on the cover. If you are a Scythe, you are the one that deals out death in a statistical order that is meant to be fair and completely unbiased. However, because the Scythes are human, there is biases in this system, and when Citra and Rowan are placed as apprentices to a Scythe, they find out some of the inner workings of this world and a larger problem within it. I have explained this book in so many different ways in so many different videos. I hope you know what Scythe series is about and that I sold you on it. If not, read the first chapter and you'll be fine. The next on my list is Juliet Takes a Breath by Gabby Rivera. This is a contemporary book, which doesn't enter my list very often, but Juliet Takes a Breath was definitely an exception to the rule. I loved this book, and Juliet is the reason why I kept reading through it. You get a very strong idea of this character immediately, and you have to insta-love her. She is a strong Latina woman from the Bronx, and she is new to the world of feminism, as well as realizing that she is a lesbian, and in her world that is not always necessarily accepted. So when she picks up a book that is talking about feminism and vaginas, she is just completely excited and enthusiastic and ends up writing an email to the author, and the story begins with her getting an internship. Juliet is just so honest, candid, and has a naivete about her that just makes you want to hold and hug her. I love how strong her character is and how her character develops. I like that she's not immediately confident, but she does want to explore and learn more about herself and the world, and I was just so instantly smitten with her character that I continued on to enjoy the story as well. While Juliet does start her story in the Bronx, she ends up flying to Portland, Oregon, which is where I live. I actually really appreciated the representation of Portland in this, because Portland is often stereotyped as an ultra-liberal, ultra-accepting place, but there are problems in Portland, and I feel that the perspective of Juliet really emphasizes them well as draws attention to them, and I think that's moving in the right direction in order to actually work on some of the issues we have, and Juliet Takes a Breath has that conversation flawlessly. The last but certainly not least on my list is Raybearer. This is by Jordan Ufueko. I immediately melted into the pages of this book. I loved it from the start. I loved it in the middle. I loved it till the end. This was an amazing book. I felt like it was dipped in honey and vibrant. This is one of those ones where if you look at this cover, look at it. You see this cover? That's the book inside, because everything felt magical and bright, and I loved all of the character dynamics, and there's so much good in this book, including our main character, who has a lot going on, and it's not all necessarily good. This follows our main character, Terasai, who has grown up in a small oasis palace away from everyone else, and is being raised, I would say poorly and not really, by her mother, who she calls the Lady. The Lady is a very interesting character that I just do not have time to get into, but essentially Terasai is being raised completely on her own and without touch, because if Terasai is able to touch you, she's able to take or see your memories. This is a power that is unique to her, but powers in this world are not unheard of. There are several characters with powers and gifts, and that allows them the chance to become a council member or one of the 11 who serve on the Grand Council of the Kingdom alongside the king. Terasai is sent to the kingdom not only because of her gift, but because she has been compelled to kill the prince after gaining his trust. Besides the amazing plot of this story and the larger overlying world and magic system, I can also say the character dynamics in this are fantastic, phenomenal, over the moon for the character dynamics in this book. You have so many beautiful found friendships as well as like romantic interests, but everything just feels so lovely and kind and sweet. And I just cannot get over these characters, to be perfectly honest. There's also really good ace representation in this book, as well as found family. I would say if you're averse to like codependence, some of the found family moments can feel codependent, but I don't think that that's necessarily how this world or social structure works, so keep that in mind and really just enjoy it beginning to end. From the moment I read the first sentence all the way up to the final chapter, I was enchanted. I know that you will be too. And that is also the last book on my list. So I would love some good recommendations from you guys. If you have a book that had a really strong hook, a strong chapter that brought you into the world and then you just never want to leave it, let me know what that book is and I'll add it to my Goodreads list. I'm always looking for new books. These are obviously mostly off of my favorite shelf. I love books that immediately grasp my attention. These books did just that. So let me know some of yours, and regardless if you do, I hope you are enjoying the sun or more stars wherever you are, and until next time, bye! What's the word I'm looking for? This is by Juden. What was I going to call Jordan Ufueko? What was that? Like Judith? Let's try that again. I want to make sure this is not a spoiler. But because she has been compelled to do this is just, oh, how do I explain this? Oh, I don't know why running in place would help me explain this book.